Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna do a video in the house because I got kids sleeping and sometimes that's just what you gotta do. Moving to Southern Missouri is the best thing I've ever done for my family. Today's video is gonna be about something that a lot of people have asked me to make a video about, and I keep saying I'm gonna make a video about, and that is about homeschooling in Southern Missouri and what a favorable state Missouri is in general for homeschooling. And it's been very different in Missouri. So just to kind of recap some of the basic laws is compulsory school, where you have to have them in either public school or homeschooling, is ages 7 to 16. And you are required to keep records of assessments, and at the same time, literally stipulated in the law, there is no oversight or monitoring of homeschools. So obviously your records are not going to be scrutinized. I think that they're helpful, but that they're not going to be mandatory. Actually, let me clarify. They're technically mandatory, but no one's going to look at them. So real quick, I want to give a little history to homeschooling in Missouri. So it's technically been legal since 1978. But there was a very significant court ruling, federal court ruling actually, in 1985. I think it was Ellis versus O'Hara. And that ruling said that the law was too vague and that it left too much discretion to the governing boards and to enforcement. And so what happened is that encouraged, or that made Missouri have to outline the details of the homeschooling laws, and they made their requirements very lenient. That's where we really saw that there would be no monitoring, that it specifically says anyone can homeschool, and there are no specifications like we dealt with in California where you actually have to start an official school that you register. We also don't have that brutal review period that so many states have, where parents really feel like they're put under the microscope and the fire, and just feeling like their curriculum is being unnecessarily scrutinized. Also, in a lot of states, you're going to have all of this core curriculum that's mandatory, and we don't have that in Missouri. So, for example, we are really not doing a lot of traditional curriculum for my 14-year-old daughter who we're homeschooling this year. And we have taken out a lot of the higher level math, and we're completely taking out some of that advanced algebra that no one ever uses. When was the last time that you used fractional exponents? Have you ever? No. And I remember really struggling to get good grades when we were learning some of those parts of algebra that really don't apply, not even really to engineering. I don't know who's using it, but certainly you and I have never, okay? I feel that life is short, and I feel that it's hard enough to really dig deep and even begin to work on mastery towards different things that you're passionate about or want to achieve in life. And so I just feel that especially really abstract, very niche, very advanced curriculum that has nothing to do with anything that you're interested in, nor will you ever use it in your life, is mostly a waste of time. And I want to give an example for my daughter because I've been really waiting for something to really click with her. And we have a bunch of things that are part of her curriculum that are very untraditional. For example, she got a job at Ace Hardware because there's so much just basic learning that comes with working a job and working a register and counting back money and knowing inventory and learning all the different technologies that are used at work and all sorts of things. And also, she is gone from having very awkward conversations with strangers to very comfortable, and I would say is at a competitive level with most freshmen in a basic communications 101 class. I think that she would actually do really well in that class just from that interfacing with the public and have good communication to be able to do her job. And something that's part of her curriculum that is more extracurricular has been horsemanship, horse psychology, natural horsemanship, and then also now recently, more specifically, learning barrels. And something that happened really without anyone having to like force her into it was really realizing that she wanted to learn some more advanced things. Like she's digging now into horse anatomy, and without me really structuring it, she's actually doing these like detailed notes where she draws out all the different like body parts and is diagramming all this different stuff and writing really thorough notes. And then on top of that, she's reading a book. I wish I could remember. It's like Horse Brain, Human Brain, something like that. But it's actually comparing the different functions of these very different types of brains and how they work and how they differ. And yeah, and it's been hard for me to get her to like just really like want to learn all vocabulary that comes her way. And I was telling her how when I was a kid, because I was kind of an English nerd, I would highlight, when I would read, I would highlight words I didn't know, or just I always had a dictionary with me and was extending my learning like through having that dictionary. And I haven't really ever seen her naturally want to do that. And she wants to do that with this horse book because it's really advanced. There's a lot of medical terms. And she thinks it's fascinating, and she's chomping at the bit, and she's student-led, and, you know, it's coming from her passion. And I really think that there's something to that with learning. I think that it blossoms and encourages learning at a whole other rapid rate than forcing curriculum and subjects and just content that they hate, that they never want to develop in their life. So enough talk about what we're doing at home. I want to just kind of touch on some of the groups and some of the other activities that are going on in other towns. But pretty much, okay, so first of all, if you want more information or want me to look into a specific area, leave me a comment, email me, call me, whatever. There's so much going on. There's no way that I can cover it because it's everywhere. Homeschooling is so popular and so normalized here. I've never seen anything like it. It feels like, I think it was already a big movement here in Missouri, but it is exploding. So the easiest place to find homeschooling groups is literally Facebook. Almost every town has like 2. And those groups, of course, if you join, are just going to be filled with so many other resources. Because here's what I found. Actually, first I want to talk about Mountain Grove. So Mountain Grove has 2 main Facebook groups, and it's the Cottage Co-op and then just Mountain Grove Homeschooling Group. And you can find both of those on Facebook. And those are huge collectives that not just serve Mountain Grove, but tons of the surrounding areas. But the other thing I want to say is that there's so many subgroups within those collectives. So almost every town has like a group that's doing classical conversations, and then maybe there's another group that's kind of doing some Abeka or Abeka, I call it Abeka, some Abeka, and then some maybe a different curriculum kind of blended together. And then there's a lot of people also doing the True North curriculum, which is like kind of a homeschooling academy in itself, but kind of just curriculum too. So I find that a lot. And then you have people like me. And by the way, I know that everything I'm saying is very like non-traditional that we're doing at home. And I would say that I do feel somewhat liberated because I have a master's in education. I've gone through so much, so much education about education. And it actually in the end has given me a little bit more freedom, because everything that seems very like just kind of bucking the system and not in the norm, it all can be validated and verified with peer-reviewed research. And even non-conforming curriculum can be written and presented in a traditional curriculum format. And we can do all of those things like if we have to, you know. But what's nice is in Missouri, like, I don't even feel judged. And I'm not using terms like unschooling, which, I mean, let's just face it, that term has become pretty annoying. And there's a lot of parents, and actually I can think of some parents that I know that are not even calling it unschooling, but they're doing such like lazy homeschooling that I am seeing their children suffer academically. And in our home, it's subtle. Like, schooling is sometimes really subtle, but like, I will say a word that I maybe think my daughter doesn't understand, and I'll have her recast it to me and maybe give me some synonyms or whatever. And just little things like that, you're just constantly, weaving in education into everything and every part of life. So to go back to the Mountain Grove Facebook groups, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is, if you're starting out and you're wanting to find out all the resources in an area, definitely start with the Facebook groups, but then realize that there's just so many subgroups, right? And that's what's kind of cool about it. And what's neat too is I feel like there's resources for whatever kind of homeschooling family you are. Like, do you really just want to have like your stack of textbooks that you get and just focus on like a very structured curriculum like that will pretty much mirror, everything, like, to a certain degree, the standards that they're going to learn in public school? Or do you want to go really heavy into Christian curriculum, and have that be kind of your foundational thing? Or do you want to do something else? Or do you want to just kind of go straight into like college pretty much? A lot of people are structuring their curriculum just around, taking those college courses that are available to high school kids and kind of just building those units at a super young age. There's some parents I know that focus on that. So that's what's really neat, is there's some group or somebody that could model all of these different ways to you. And I think that is also so cool, because often in a lot of states, and some of you listening know this, like, you're kind of the oddball. You're kind of an outcast a little bit for homeschooling. And it's really, really not like that here in Missouri. So another town, and like I said, homeschooling groups are everywhere, but we have a few towns where it's like really, really big. I wanted to mention Mountain Grove because a lot of the outlier areas go to Mountain Grove. So there's people I know that are in those groups in Mountain Grove. They're in Norwood, even some in Texas County, Hartville, Mansfield, all over, right? So another town that just seems to be exploding with like homeschool culture is Marshfield, which was actually really surprising to me. So Webster County, definitely a larger metro, so there's just kind of more going on there. And I would say the biggest Facebook group there is Marshfield Homeschooling Fun and Education. Yeah, Homeschool Fun and Education. I mean, right? It's simple, it's to the point, we all get it. It's going to be fun and education. That seems to be the most active group, but there's quite a few others. So if you just Google Marshfield, Missouri homeschooling groups, tons others will come up. And what I like about Marshfield is there seems to be a lot of activities, and it kind of goes for all over Webster. You're going to have tons of activities, obviously in Springfield, obviously Christian County, but in terms of Webster County, Rogersville and Marshfield are kind of blowing up a little bit. And there's actually something happening in Rogersville that is super special that I'd never heard of before, which is going to be a massive multi-million-dollar sporting complex that's all for homeschooling kids. And I believe the group is just kind of known as the Lighthouse Christian Sporting Complex. And they have 25 acres that they got in Rogersville that they got a 99-year lease on. And they have raised so far, I believe, over $800,000. And actually, a lot of that money came from the owners of Silver Dollar City. So once again, much love to Silver Dollar City. They kind of like Johnny Morris does around here, of Bass Pro. they give so much money and fuel so much more of like the positive things that we have going on for youth than a lot of people realize. So their goal is in the next 5 years to have phase 1 complete, and that's going to be a football field, a track, it's going to have bleachers and stadium, it's going to have a concession stand, and that's going to be phase 1. And of course they have dreams of other phases. They'd like to have pretty much all the sports that they now have within their group. So this group started with just 23 football players, and now they have, I believe it's something like over 900 homeschooling athletes, and they're now competing in 9 different sports. And since we're on sports, I do want to mention there's another group out of Marshville that's called CIA, and it's Christians in Action, and they do basketball and baseball and volleyball and cheer and a few other sports. And actually what you'll find is that there's a lot of these like little smaller athletic groups kind of all over. And just to go back to the Lighthouse group, they are absolutely crushing it. I believe the football team has won, which I didn't even know there was this, but it's like a national homeschooling league. And they have won, I believe, 5 years in a row and are just absolute superstars. So first of all, I didn't even know that there was like homeschooling athletics. Like honestly, I knew that there was leagues, but like not actual homeschooling leagues. So super neat. Those are really popular around here. And so it's just another thing too, like if that's a concern of yours, like you really are ready to move away from public schooling, but your kid is so into sports and athletics, that can be something that holds people not only to the public school system, but to then higher education as well. And it's just nice to know that there are alternatives. Something else that I did not know until recently that was a big part of our day today is that there is a homeschooling prom. And it happens every year in Springfield, and it's done pretty classy too. Like this year for 2025, it's going to be at one of Johnny Morris's of Bass Pro's conference centers. It's the White River Conference Center, and it's gorgeous. You know what I mean? It's very, very Bass Pro-esque. And yeah, so it's going to be just this beautiful prom, and it looks so well done, like maybe nicer than some of the other proms even around. And I just think that that's so cool. So there's not going to be any stigma like I missed out on prom and any of those feelings. So today I actually got my daughter and one of her close friends tickets, and so today was all about like looking at online for the dresses and all the different plans. And it's really neat because otherwise that would have been a whole cultural thing that my daughter would have missed out on. And yeah, so I'm really, really happy that people are organizing, and they're organizing events that are just so well done. It's like there's no kid that would not be absolutely thrilled to go to prom at a place like that. So yeah, that's actually another thing too. I just have to admit, in California, we never saw just so much structure, where like all of the kind of the funnest parts, the most fun parts of high school being brought into the homeschooling realm, like athletics and prom and all of those things. And the way that it's done here in Missouri is done with so much like care, and it's done to such a high level that like not only do homeschooling kids not have a stigma, like they kind of know that they're like special, like they're rocking it. And I think that's just such a cool thing, because if you do homeschooling right, I truly believe that you can outpace traditional education. There was one other area I wanted to talk about, and I actually briefly mentioned this in my West Plains video, is West Plains, Missouri actually has a really thriving homeschool scene. And of course, they've got their Facebook groups too, where you can find all of the subgroups and the sub-subgroups. But they have something that I think is really important, especially for those of you that want to get like all the resources. Let's say that you're just moving here and you really want to know not just what's going on in the one little town that you live, but really a snapshot of what's going on all over southern Missouri. And that is a group in West Plains. It's Missouri Association of Teaching Christian Homes. And I will put their information in the description. And the reason why I thought it was important to mention this group is it's actually a statewide organization. I believe it's $25 for a membership, an annual membership, and then every year after that, $15. And they just do all of this kind of, a lot of different things, but they do just a lot of like organizing, and they put together a newsletter every month, and it's literally just every single homeschooling group and all of the different events and just all of the resources that are happening all over the state, but particularly southern Missouri. And it's all compiled in one newsletter. And I thought that that was really nice, especially for those parents that really want, are the go-getters and they want to know everything and kind of, pick and choose and drive here and there. And that resource would be absolutely amazing for parents that want that. And M.A.T.C.H does something also that's kind of cool. They have homeschooling weekends, so spring, fall, and Christmas. They have homeschooling weekends in Branson, and they're just these kind of big events, lots of fun things to do. And the idea too is bringing together homeschooling families from really across the region. And I think that's really cool too, because we have a lot of communication, obviously, with the internet, but I think that there's such a benefit for just mothers who are now teachers and fathers too, but primarily there's a lot of mothers coming together and just having that opportunity to meet other people, see what other people are doing, hear feedback on curriculum, all of that communication. It almost is, it's partly, it's like the Marshfield group. It's fun and it's educational, because obviously a weekend in Branson is going to have some fun in it, but just really, if you think about it, it's kind of like an educational conference where my dogs just started barking. We've got a possum that's trying to get into our chicken house tonight, but so we'll probably find a dead possum in the yard in the morning. But anyway, yeah, it's like an educational conference, and we don't really get that as homeschool educators and parents. I think it's super, super important. And we all have YouTube, like we can learn and connect with YouTube, but how cool is it to meet homeschooling groups across your state? So yeah, I think that group is worth touching base with. And as I mentioned, how part of our daughter's curriculum is actually working, so you could call it like work study, like they do in public school. One thing I would say that's really favorable in Missouri is no one really thinks it's weird to have a young person working. In fact, it's really encouraged, and it used to be pretty customary and pretty common. It's weird because we've gotten to this place where we've really taken that out of our children's lives, and I just have seen it be such a positive thing. And another part, weaving, different, just functional math into her job, is when we did that, we downloaded Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar app, and she's doing all of her own accounting and saving for different goals. And I just think that's such a good way to teach math and basic accounting. Awesome, you guys. I'm so glad you stuck around. If you got any value from this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow. And know that, as always, all my information is in the description, and feel free to reach out to me. I hope that I can help you with truly the next best phase of your life, which will be in southern Missouri. All right, you guys, until next time, bye.